All right, so this is how to become a millionaire in 23 years with investing, step by step, as clear as I possibly can. And of course, full transparency, I'm not a financial advisor or strategist or any of that. This is simply just the roadmap that I have followed for myself and built some wealth over the years. And there is risk to all, types of investing. I just wanted to get that out of the way, make it very, very clear. But this is my personal kind of story, if you will, along with what my future will hold. And hopefully some of you can follow along. Now, of course, homage to Woody's gamertag. He's a big part of the reason that I'm making this video. It inspired me as a kid. And it's been honestly a video that I've just been wanting to make for a very, very long time. I've heard you guys ask where to start as a straight beginner, but I just needed some time to figure out everything in the clearest way possible, how to explain this from my point of view. And by the end, I can promise you that you will have the clearest understanding, to start from investing at $0 to a hopeful 7 figures if you give it enough time. So again, if you've been following me for a while, I made the majority of my net worth through cash flow from a business, but I'm just using this as an investment strategy, as my retirement plan. This is a hedge against the risk of my businesses, of the day-to-day of that. If you want to get rich faster, starting a business or getting your active income up is a guaranteed way to do so. If you want to get rich slow, the next few minutes is the way that I personally am doing it, and what I've seen a lot of other people do as well. So I'm personally just doing both for good measure. So let's dive in. Step 1, understand what investing even is. You don't just do this blindly, okay? Understand what all of this means. More specifically in a minute, I'll break down the S&P 500, which is the vehicle that we're going to be using. And the actual word for word definition of investing is expend money with the expectation of achieving a profit or material result by putting it into financial plans, shares, or property. Okay, so it's very simple, more or less a financial vehicle to put your money to, hoping in that it grows. The S&P 500 is a batch of the 500 largest US companies tracked in an index, if you will. And I'll throw some ticker symbols out there like VOO, VFE for my Canadian guys, SPY, or if you want to go a little bit broader but still some exposure, is VTI, right? So there's a bunch of these. There's a whole bunch of funds, and these are very simply just batches of stocks that you can buy into for a small fee from companies like Vanguard, Schwab, Fidelity, etc. They charge this small fee for rebalancing because certain companies are cycling in and out of there, right? Not all 500 companies stay in there forever, sometimes go in and out, rebalancing percentages of single stocks they hold, etc., right? So with this in mind, I'm not saying I'm against other vehicles of growing your money. This is just the one that I personally like for a bunch of reasons, liquidity and passiveness being obviously the main one. And again, I personally own a business, and investing within the company will get me a larger, return short term, like Facebook ads, for example. But I know longer term, do I want to be running my company for the next decade or two? No, if I'm being honest, I really don't. I'm using the S&P as a hedge to protect my future. I'm taking just a little bit of chips off the table every single month and buying into the markets because I want to be involved in the economy's growth for the rest of my years. We'll get into this in a little bit, but I just want to make that very, very clear. That's why I'm doing it. Step 2, the data of the S&P that I am betting my personal future on. And of course, this goes without saying, right? Past returns do not guarantee future results. Fully agreed on that. And we would be silly to think otherwise. The last few years have been an anomaly. And I'm actually hoping that it doesn't continue that way because I'm just a believer in as fast as things come up, they can go just as fast down. So I would personally prefer things to be more conservative. We're going to be doing our calculations on that in a minute. However, what is 10,000% guaranteed is that if you don't invest anything, you will get absolutely nothing, right? John Bogle said this perfectly, the founder of Vanguard. He's people just don't understand, the sooner you get in, or just being in the markets in general is so much better 100 times out of 100 than not being and being out of the markets. And the amount of people that have told me what to do with my own money when they have none themselves is astonishing. Or people that I've seen on Reddit and other forums that have been waiting 3 to 6 years for that crash, and all they've done is go so far backwards that they've just given up. And you can't really blame them. It's like you've double effed yourself. You're screwed. Now, of course, there's always recovery periods, but that aside, this is why I dollar cost average, and this is why dollar cost averaging is your best friend, right? These are some numbers. The S&P has returned an average since 1957 of 10.13%, and that's not adjusted for inflation. When it's actually adjusted for inflation, the real return drops to like 6.3, 6.4% net, if I'm not mistaken. But let's just use even the last 30 years. I've seen this data graph as well since 1990. I think it does average out to 10%. And that's including the dot-com crash. That's including the 2008 crash. That was including the little 1 month-ish blip of the 2020 mini crash, if you will. But that's why it's like, it's just, you have to look at the data, look at facts, zoom out far enough. Don't get so obsessed with viewing things on like a weekly or a monthly basis or any of that stuff. It's just silly, right? You're only setting yourself up for failure. And it's like, why am I all in on the S&P? It's because I'm bullish on America with tech, with AI, where the government is going and spending money. It's like, I do believe things are overinflated and a little bit overvalued, but also on the flip side, I do not see a world where the economy just stops and things flatline, right? I do not see that at all. If anything, like I said, I'd like for things to go conservatively up, and the S&P is a very easy way for every single American or Canadian to take advantage of that through these typical accounts. So before I get into actual step 3, question for you. I want to know if you are investing in this, or what are you investing in? I'm really curious to hear. Seriously, I know a lot of you are into crypto. I got a lot of hate on one of my last videos saying, why are you investing so much in the S&P? Just buy BTC, buy Bitcoin. It's like, I get it. I'm not against it. But anyways, are you investing in like individual stocks, real estate? Seriously, leave a comment below. I want to hear that. And I'll just comment back on what I think it is. Step 3, where to set up your account. Don't let this scare you. This is like honestly the simplest part. I remember being really freaked out of like so overwhelmed of setting up all the accounts, when truth is it's pretty simple stuff. They sometimes just scare you a little bit purposely. You verify your identity, you link your bank accounts, you prove you're a citizen, and that's it. And you're on your way. It's really not that difficult. And you can use, luckily with investing, it's getting even more like open, which is awesome. And you could use Vanguard directly, Schwab, Fidelity, Questrade, Robinhood, etc., etc. Just go with something simple and reputable and that you believe in, and it's really not that crazy. So anyways, this is the exciting part. Step 4, the math. What is needed to hit the $1 million mark in 23 years based on data is $1,000 a month. Okay, $1,000 a month, dollar cost average, buying an index ETF, like for example, VOO. Again, not financial advice, but just $1,000 a month, dollar cost averaged into that is the data, is where the math shows. I'm going to throw a screenshot up on the screen on the exact breakdown here. And a side note, I'm going to leave this calculator in the description. I highly, highly recommend just doing your own numbers, just for motivation's sake, to see how far your money can grow, right? This, again, is only 23 years. If you give this thing 35 or 45 years, the younger you start, obviously, the better. But if you give this thing more time, it's insane what the money can do, right? As you can see, look at year 8 specifically. Your deposits are matched by your interest. What this means is that the total sum of money that you have in the market is actually earning you the same as your deposits, even though your deposits have stayed the exact same, right? As you can see here, $12,000 a year, $1,000 a month. Then look at year 9. Your money actually made $15,000. In year 10, your money made $17,000. All the while, your deposits stayed the exact same at 12 grand. And I know this may sound a little bit confusing. All that means is just your money is working harder than your deposits. This personally blew my mind more than seeing that large multi-million-dollar number, than that 7-figure number, because the fact that at some point in the future, 20 to 30 years from now, your deposits actually become irrelevant is just, it's mind-boggling. You could hypothetically stop monthly deposits at that point, and the snowball will be going without you even pushing it. That right there, to me, is freedom. That to me is what every person here should be chasing. And I know Woody's video talked about this in his video, and it just really, really resonated with me. It was like, damn, like that's insane. At some point, you can just stop and your money will work harder. This is step 5. This is, in my opinion, the hardest part, is letting your money and compound interest do the work. You need to get out of your own way. Seriously, this is harder than finding $1,000 or $2,000 a month to invest into your portfolio, because it's tempting, right? Some people aren't patient enough. Some people see the money grow and want to take it out and spend it on dumb shit. Some people think the market will crash and they're going to try and catch a falling knife, when It's just, that's such a silly thing to do. Just don't do it. You need to avoid all of these like the plague. This is my only bonus with real estate, is it's way harder. When you think of selling real estate, it's harder and the barrier to entry is more difficult. So you end up just keeping the property, which typically does actually end up working better in your favor. But you need to be careful with this. What you need is to get addicted to seeing your numbers go up and up and up on a screen and have serious discipline not to touch it. Honestly, you know what? Act as if it's not even yours yet. And again, I don't mean to harp on this. This is why I'm such a big fan of Vanguard, probably is because Bogle says, like, act as if it's not even yours. Act as if it's not even your responsibility. But one day you'll get the check. This is old school times now. Now you just withdraw and it's in your bank account. But you get that check for that 7 figures and you're like, what the hell happened? This is insane, right? And don't get obsessed. I need to take my own advice here. I check my portfolio all the time, even when I shouldn't. I know it's kind of a dumb thing to do, but you do need to know where you're at, where you stand on a financial point of view. And it's weird, man. Like, it subconsciously messes with your head, because if you're like me, I was conditioned to believe that you have to have all your money working and coming from your lifestyle and your job and all gas, no brakes, hustle culture, BS. But the truth is, there's friends of mine that will have average annual salary swings in their portfolios on a weekly basis because they have so much money working for them. It's insane, meaning they've got tens of millions or multi-millions, and their swings, they're daily, because the S&P goes up and down, up and down, up and down, right? And this is why it's just important to dollar cost average. It's crazy that your portfolio makes an annual salary at some point on a weekly or a monthly basis. It's nuts. Step 6, this is honestly more of a bonus step, and it's something that you should think about and just study. This portfolio can pay for the rest of your life, and I mean literally. I'm not joking. You technically don't even have to touch the money if you don't want to. Let me explain that part in a minute. But the simple version to this is calculating your SWR. What that means is your safe percentage withdrawal rate. The rule of thumb is 3 to 4% max. What this means is, say you build, this is my personal goal, a $10 million portfolio. The S&P nets you 7% a year. That's just stupidly conservative. Whether it's 7, 10, 20, 30, doesn't matter. Let's just say it nets you 7% a year. Great. You withdraw 3% of that to live off of. The other 4% stays in to compound. And that 3% is just spending money to blow on whatever the hell you want. That's $300,000 a year, $25K a month, pre-tax obviously, but still, that is an insanely good living. And the crazy part is, you never touch the $10 million principal, for one. Number two, your money continues to compound. And number three, you get a ton, and I mean a ton, of spending money every year. Like that's an insane amount of money. If you really want to mess with your head a little bit, what very wealthy people do, or billionaires do, is something called asset-based lending. This is like my end-all be-all. This is like my FU money stage, where they literally take out loans against their own portfolios as collateral. They say, hey, Mr. Lender, here's my $100 million portfolio. I would like a loan for $5 million for whatever I please. They typically don't even have to prove what they're spending it on, typically just personal spending money. And because they have so much working for them in the markets, they are able to completely cover the interest on the loan easily, like no questions asked, and keep more money in there for compounding, which is mind-boggling. And it's just like, that is the ultra infinite money glitch. Now that's a whole other ball game. I won't even get into that in this video. The point is here is just get your money working for you as soon as humanly possible. It's like, I would even go as far as saying legally possible. If you're 18, 19, or 20, start today. Seriously, brother. Like, your future self will thank you. Your future family will thank you. And again, nobody can guarantee where the market goes, but history shows over a long enough time horizon, you'd be silly to have your money, your cash, just burning away in a checking account. Like, that doesn't do any good. It's good mentally short term, but long term, it's going to work against you. I could promise you. So as always, if you've made it this far, I want to see you win. Again, comment below with what you're investing in, and I'm really curious. I'll give you some feedback on that. And we'll see you in the next one. So thank you.